All right, so I'm just gonna get to it. VC++ 2020 is delighted to welcome Mahavir Sharma. Mahavir, can you tell the audience about yourself?
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you on this program. I've been a TIE charter member for about 19 years, founding member of TIE Rajasthan. I have, me and my family were in a traditional business of handmade carpets. I added jewelry to it. We added furniture, and TIE brought me to the world of tech, and that's where I started to look at tech with a new window. I not only took in tech to my traditional businesses, but also became an angel investor. Founded Rajasthan Angels, still chairing it and leading it. Have become a very active angel investor locally and in India, and I continue to want to support startups at all levels, especially early stage and idea stage. Mentor them, handhold them, guide them, and invest in them. So it's been a long journey, about 30 some years of my career, and from traditional businesses to startups to marketing, branding. We do it all. I have many verticals, but relevant here for TIE is early idea stage angel investment.
Great. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about TIE at both the global and the chapters around the world level, what the organization is about?
Yeah. So TIE was founded in 1992 by a handful of people in Silicon Valley. The idea was to create jobs, to promote entrepreneurship, to mentor young Indian diaspora in the Valley area to become far more stronger and to be seen not as someone who can work under, but can be job creators. And these handful of people, leaders, created a great chapter in Silicon Valley, did great events, inspired many people from the subcontinent to become founders, to have exits in the early 90s to mid 90s. And then that's when they thought of growing and expanding this across the globe. Chapters were formed one after the other. We have now 61 chapters. We're in 14 countries. We have 14,000 plus members. We have charter members, the givers, the founders, the achievers, to close to 30,000. So we've come a long way, and we have multiple pillars, verticals that we work with. One is, of course, mentoring. The other is networking. The other is investment, into early stage, idea stage startups. So we have created many programs around all these pillars. So we have starting from the school, high school years, we have a TYE program that works with all school children. We have a global competition on startup, students making pitches and startup ideas. Then we go to the TIE University program. So students in colleges and universities across the globe have a global competition, and then that's what happens. Then we have the TIE Angels program. So after you're done with your college, and if your startups are worthy of investment, even at idea stage or early stage, we have an Angels program in India and the US. That's where most of the chapters are. Now, when we say these programs are very, very heavy, closely monitored, mentored, assigned a mentored partner. We take children from school level all the way up. Then we have, in the last 3-4 years or 2 years, we've added many more programs. We have a TIE Women's program now. So we have, for the last 1 year, a very impactful, only women co-founders and founders can participate. We have 2,000 plus entries, and we're going to have a global competition with almost 125,000 US dollars as prize money and investment opportunities at the Angels program. We've just launched a TIE Access program, which is for the underprivileged. After the Black Lives Matter issue became a major issue, we realized, it's better to bring them, the underprivileged people across the globe into the mainstream entrepreneurial level. And that's the only way that we can have them in our board. That's the only way they can be, members of corporates. They can become founders, co-founders, and create more jobs in the community. So the TIE Access program started in TIE Atlanta, has reached out to, all colors, all races, Hispanic, Asians, Blacks, everyone. We're launching that in India next month. So we will have people who are not privileged enough to go to private schools or good colleges come up, and there are multiple benefits. I mean, in terms of freebies, membership, mentoring, etc., etc. But they become part of us, the ecosystem. Similarly, we're launching, and then all these programs will have an alumni program. So if once you've done a TYE or a Thai University or a Thai Access or a Thai Women, you continue to stay engaged. So it's a very, very comprehensive this thing, and which culminates into an angel investment possibly, and then you taking on the leap from people like us and start to redo that starting from. So it's a cyclic thing where it's a handing over. My seniors, the founders, handed over it to my decade of age, and then in a few years we'll hand it over to the next, and so on and so forth. So the idea is that the more we give, the more we learn, and the more entrepreneurs we create, the less people struggle on joblessness, and we become a successful world, and everyone makes helps everyone and makes money in the bargain.
It's a really interesting effort when I look at it, and I've worked most closely with the chapter in New Jersey where I live, who do great work. But the full cycle nature of what you do from children to alumni is extraordinary. And one of the themes I've seen across VC++ is that there are entrepreneurs around the world that lack access to capital, but part of that is being under-networked. And the idea of making a diaspora-driven network as a launch platform for achieving venture literacy and venture capital, I think is really interesting. Can you talk about how you've leveraged the traditional I'll say community network of the diaspora into something more formal in 21st century, and lessons you've learned from that?
Yeah, so what started as a diaspora, what started as Asia, the Indian subcontinent countries becoming a part of it, continues to grow in that direction. But we are now open to anyone. Our Thai Germany chapter, our Thai Israel chapter, and many chapters in the U.S. are being led by non-Asians and in fact Americans, Germans, or Israelis, and I think we're becoming far more inclusive. And now in the next step, when we grow into Europe, I think that's going to be far more important. But having said that, the lessons that we have learned, a community's strength or a diaspora strength and networking is easier to happen. You don't need formal ice breaking on traditional communication skills, or what binds us together, which is giving back, or our ethos and our philosophies in life, or our religious beliefs. So it does help to a certain extent, but we are not contained into all of that. We're absolutely open. We have a Hong Kong chapter, we have a Japan chapter, we have quite a few Japanese, and so we're absolutely now what used to be TIE, where I could have been India, or the Indian subcontinent, is now inclusiveness. It's not now subject to just people of the diaspora, but that is our core strength. We are about 80% still that, but we are trying to widen our scope as we go.
So if I'm an entrepreneur or a business person somewhere in the world that doesn't have a Thai chapter today, what are the characteristics that you look for someone wanting to launch a city or country chapter?
So multiple things. There are two kinds of memberships that we have. One is a charter membership, someone who has achieved and who wants to give back, who wants to mentor, invest, handhold, and network amongst charter members, the achievers. And then there is the regular membership, which is the startups, the students, the alumni, the people who are seeking funds, investments, and mentorship. So what we look in an entrepreneur is that he should have a basic acumen of being enterprising despite all odds. We don't too much involve ourselves into policy making for either of the governments, any country that we're in. We work with whatever the circumstances are. We adjust, accommodate, and work around whatever is required. So we basically need the skill to entrepreneur. To be a charter member, you should also have a prerogative to give back to the ecosystem, to learn from the youngsters, to educate them, mentor them, and that's also very critical. And most importantly, we have opportunities to co-invest. We have opportunities to work together, collaborate, trade between ourselves and different companies. So if you're looking at working with US and India and other countries that we are in, that we're expanding in, it does help business-wise also. So I think we would look for anyone who is truly an entrepreneur, who is a giver, who is a doer, who doesn't get defeated by changes. A pandemic might slow you down, but it does not stop an entrepreneur, and that's what we look for in a basic sense in a member. And I think that person stays longer, does not want to leave TIE, and continues to give back, which is the philosophy and mantra for TIE.
Got it. Talk a little bit about your experiences as an angel investor in India, so one of the world's largest and fastest growing economies. How has that changed over the time that you've been involved, and how have you seen shifts towards inclusion, both women and underrepresented groups within the Indian venture community?
So, while India is a developing country, it's the fastest developing country as on date, but you have to understand that India was way behind until about 25 years ago, when the Indian economy was pretty much controlled. And, gradually things started to open up. Tech startups and busts and booms from the 90s all the way up to 2007-8 have always impacted India, in a way. But the fact that Indian government started to look at startups, the Indian government started to look at small and medium enterprises and entrepreneurship is the reason why we are where we are as the fastest growing economy. India has always looked inwards in terms of market, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of service, and in terms of providing, despite having very low oil reserves, hardly any domestic defense or other airplanes and larger investments which are being imported, India's been able to sustain the growth rate because of its small and medium enterprise, because of the startup ecosystem and the emphasis on that. So angel investment in India has contributed a lot to the early stage, idea stage startups from the early 2000s till now, who've become many unicorns across the system. But as India was catching up with the world, our rate of catching up with the world was much faster, and primarily because of technology, with internet, with mobility. I think India had a very fast, so things are very, very quickly changing. Our infrastructure is changing, 4G is becoming 5G, highways, everything is improving at a very fast pace. But what I feel is that we still have a lot of work to do. In women entrepreneurship, in underprivileged, we don't have modules, we don't have processes, and many a times people were looking to the government to support the underprivileged or the women or anyone else. It doesn't work that way. The government, as you know, is always they have other challenges, they have other things that they have to do. Right. We as entrepreneurs, we as organizations, and we've taken on us as TIE to provide enough opportunities of investment to women, mentoring to women, making them mainline leadership roles at chapters or at global level. So what we are trying to do is create move by example, in exemplary behavior, exemplary, and not just behavior or a word of what we want to say, actually doing, investing, respecting, awarding, and contributing in whatever small way we can. So that's when I said we don't interfere with the government or the policy. We actually want to give and create exemplary things so that the society of tomorrow or the country grows at a much faster pace and is a far more stronger economy and is not rattled by what goes across in the Gulf if there's a war or there's something else happening somewhere. So India is following that, has always followed that model and principle. And like China, China, as you know, has, the reason why they quickly bounce back is because they have a huge market and everything is and that's what
Right.
India's strength is too. India being a democracy, far more easier to work with. English being a very strong communication languages has an edge, and so we're competing with the world to acquire technology, acquire services, acquire tech as an enabler, tech as a core strength or a foundation of businesses. And that's the role TIE wants to play in India. That's the journey of an angel investment. An angel investment is very critical because that's the first check, and an endorsement of an idea, which is very, very encouraging. And there's like a first check of a salary check. A first investment is always a prized possession, and that's where TIE it has to be. And I'll quote C.K. Prahlad, who was one of the few people. TIE's focus has always been at the bottom of the pyramid,
Yeah.
whether it's the underprivileged, whether it's whatever it is, and that's what we intend to do.
Can you talk about with the tremendous growth that the Indian market's experiencing and the transformation of startup opportunities over the last, say, 25 years, how can audience members around the world that are looking to enter the Indian economy, which is one of the most exciting and high growth economic opportunities in the world, use TIE to better understand how to approach that market?
See, of course, investing into India is not a difficult thing. The foreign direct investment and opening companies in India is maybe not as easy outside, but it's not difficult either. There are consultancy firms and all the big five, and everyone can help you do that. But if you want to have an inside person working who understands the local market, who understands the psychology behind the consumer, who understands the psychology behind the labor that manufactures or provides you service, it's always very, very critical. I'll just give you an example. Walmart, Amazon, everyone tried to enter India in the
Right.
physical retail space, but it's much easier if they partnered with a Reliance. If it's much easier, because they would know what needs to be done, how things are done, and that does not necessarily mean a process. It's just also understanding how to approach the government and how to make a presentation. Sometimes things culturally don't work, and that's what's very, very critical. And I think TIE, with 40% of its membership in the US, 40% in India, 20% rest of the world, with such a strong 24 chapters, 24 cities, and strong chapters, is probably the best place for you to partner with the like-minded people who are charter members and co-invest and work with them and have the skin in the game, and then enter a market like India, from legal compliances, from governance point of view, and most importantly, understanding the market and the psychology behind it.
So since TIE provides mentorship and education to people at all stages of their career, from high school to successful exit, can you talk about how you approach diversity and inclusion in the mentorship conversation and what you do to help people you engage with understand where that's going and what they can do to have it help their business?
So as I said, we absolutely, TIE is totally agnostic when it comes to color or what your background is. It's as I said, the main criteria for us to be part of it is the entrepreneurial energy and spirit that's required. So having said that, I mean, when we are looking at startups, we don't look at the background, we don't look at anything else. So this inclusiveness is absolutely very, very, what should I say it? It's not, there's no mandate for or against it. It just happens on its own, because that's the psychology of a true entrepreneur. It's the idea, it's the team, it's the collective effort that we look at. Having said that, we do realize that there are many people who've not been able to have the courage or the opportunity to come into mainstream TIE, because it's not for free. You got to enroll. You got to get, your psychology, your confidence level is not as high. So we are now making an effort where this Thai Access program will make sure that all types of minorities, all types of people who've not had the opportunity or don't have the confidence to come into the mainline program have an opportunity to work with Thai, because we feel the future, lies in equality. Quite honestly, if we have, every time there is inequality, the crime goes up. Every time that there is inequality, countries slow down, economies slow down, and it's not a good thing for the world to be having. So it's quite honestly something that we really want to do. We've just taken the first step. The results will come in about a year, 2 or 4, but I think we are moving in the right direction. We have the module that will work in the US, a module which is totally different that will work in India. And we are starting from the schools and colleges, and not at the top level where people are either working or they've gone through a cycle of employment. We're again starting to work from the roots. I think inclusiveness, opportunities will be created. We will be hand-holding and mentoring all of them.
Fantastic. Do you have some final words? Let's break it down into the investor community, the founder community, and other participants in the ecosystem. What can these groups do right now to most drive inclusion? What do you think are the key things in the short term for improving the startup ecosystem in this way?
See, I think, if you follow a module where, you can give back as a founder, as or owner of a company, as an investor to the society at large, without compromising on, the strength of the idea or strength of the team. I think that's the core. We don't want to give, there's no charity. Thai does not, we're not trying to tell you to make a foundation and start to give charity and for X percentage. So that's it. Absolutely. But when you see a lack of talent or lack of quality, don't just let them say, you come to me after 6 months. You really have to work hard with them. And even if it's not you and it's your CIO or CTO or someone, can work with them and ensure that they reach a level where they're pitchable or investable or workable. We want to create a module which is a buddy kind of a module that will actually take impact. So if I'm a founder, if I'm an investor, I'm not telling you to do anything for free because this is the mandate. I really want to upskill them, upskill the level. Otherwise, it's not going to help. I personally feel if you give charity to someone, you're just making them not work or wanting to work because they've had easy money. They should earn. We should make them more capable and earnable rather than just giving it for without any reason.
Fantastic. Mahavir, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, David. Thank you.